If you fuel your body properly, your body will just start shredding those unwanted pounds. And in my case, 1 to 2 pounds a week consistently of just body fat. Now, this helped ensure that I lost the fat and not muscle since I was performing and racing for a 24-hour mountain bike race that I'm training for. Well, that's Eric's story. In about 3 months, he transformed his body, shedding 15 pounds of body fat while maintaining a base calorie amount of 2,500 calories or more a day. Some days he ate even 3,500 plus calories, depending on how much he trained. For today's episode, sure, it's about weight loss, but even more importantly, racing and performing at your best, or doing bigger things than you thought possible for yourself. At age 42, Eric raced 180 miles or so in 24 hours and placed top 10. That is incredible. We're blown away by his results and the impact that we had on his nutrition and recovery to race against, in quotes, the younger guys. Welcome to Driven for Health podcast episode 75. I can't believe I made it this far so fast. If you've been following this journey, it's been about 150 days since I started back on September 23rd. It was a day that I had one call and a lot of time. And I figured, hey, now's the time better than ever. So I started this podcast for you, my guys, to gain much needed knowledge, but more importantly, the application to the information. So grab a seat. Let's jump into Eric's story at 42 and how he placed top 10 in his performance at the 24-hour mountain bike race. And think, you could do this too. Literally, you could. All right, hey, welcome everybody. Today we have Eric. Eric and I met a couple months ago now. He's a cyclist. He's a father of three. He's a business owner. He juggles all the things. He has 3 kids, I have 4, so we automatically connected there as well. Knowing each other's schedule is bananas. So what brings him to the call? He's a cyclist. He wants to feel like he's in his 30s cycling, not in his 50s, and he's actually in his mid 40s right now. So welcome to this here, Eric, and just kind of introduce yourself to everyone who's watching here.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. Yeah, my name's Eric. I'm based out of Salt Lake City. Yeah, as Brian mentioned, I have 3 kids. I try to ride. I've always ridden my bike. I work. I have a couple different jobs. I have my own business, and time is super limited. And the reason why I reached out to Ryan was to just trying to achieve some goals and do some different stuff, and needed some help.
Yeah, we got on a call. It was definitely a good 4 or 5 months ago or so. You're like,
Why?
yeah, July, okay,
Yep.
and it's December, so that's 5 months. It's like, hey, I want to ride a 24-hour mountain bike race. I'm like, oh, okay. All right, excellent. So let's talk about that. What was the desire? You've actually done it more than once, and
Yep.
so why did you want to get to it again and actually like cross the finish line in one piece?
Yeah. So I mean, it's a 24-hour mountain bike race. It's kind of a mental it's almost more of a mental game sometimes than a physical game. But I wanted to, like, feel good, and I really wanted to, like, have my best chance of doing well.
Right.
And so as I was getting older, I was, like, feeling just harder and harder to, like, get performance and to get my weight down to where I wanted it, and yeah, so I reached out to Brian just because everything that I read told me that, you know, nutrition, nutrition, nutrition.
Right. In our time together, you bought a new bike that was pretty very nice bike. You got a resale value from some
Yeah,
lady that just didn't realize what she had on her hands. So you got a great deal on it. But we kind of joked you want to lose some weight, and certainly a lot of cyclists and triathletes and road cyclists they'll get this top notch gear and stuff, but it doesn't necessarily make you faster per se. You still carrying a
right.
lot of body weight or lack the power to pump into that thing. So you upgraded, let's talk about some of the weight that you've lost, because that was one of the other things you wanted to transform your body.
Right. Yeah. So with any sports, I mean, if you're a runner or if you're a triathlete or a cyclist, I mean, runners wear light shoes. They're not running in heavy shoes, for example, and losing weight was a big thing. Like kind of always hovered around the 175, 180, 170 range, and I mean, I really, you know, should be like the way I'm built. Like 155, 150 maybe if I'm super lean, but I could never lose it. And so with data and metrics and FTPs and all that stuff, it all comes down to power per pound, right? That's what the kilos per, your FTP is power per kilo and all that stuff. So losing weight was, a big thing for the race, right? Like getting down and all of that stuff. If you're carrying around an extra 15 pounds every mile, you need you need to burn more calories to sustain your weight and your power. So it was something on that, that was big on my radar, was to get toned.
Yeah, actually look like a cyclist, right? Not just look like an average. I'm 42, so I'm like in there too. I'm very conscious of what I look like and feel like. I wanna look and feel the way I do now when I'm 50, and
Right.
so I'm gonna keep doing the things I need to do that, and ideally just maintain this youth about us. So we dropped, how much we dropped? We definitely dropped some body fat, more specifically belly fat, because the rest of your body, you look like a cyclist in general, except for the midsection, right? It's
Yeah.
lose that stubborn belly fat.
Yeah. It was about 15 pounds, like 15 pounds, and I was going to mention too, like, I coached a lot of the high school kids and stuff. And it's like, yeah, you want to, like, I'm like a cyclist stuck in a dad's body, so wanted to look more like a cyclist than a dad. Yeah.
Because you coach your kids too,
Huh?
so, yeah, we had plenty of Saturdays where you were out on the mountain in Salt Lake and just cheering them on definitely, like, even just for them alone, your kids, but also the team being a leader in like, "Hey, this is what it takes, this is what it looks like, this is what it feels like," and a lot of things that we talked about could definitely transfer over to how guiding them too. So
Yeah,
what
and
was the thing good?
I was just gonna say, yeah, to kind of before we move on, like I think with the kids and all of that, like really being able to coach not only the students but like my kids in my house, like they see, when I before my race, it was like to my boys, I was like, "Look at me," and they were just like, "What the heck?" Yeah, it's just the nutrition side of it. I mean, it's a lot. It's in the news a lot with our health in the U.S. and nutrition is a big thing, and I think it's important for not only my kids but to be able to coach and talk to other kids about properly fueling and what to eat and if you want to get strong, like you got to put the calories in on the off time. You got to preload. You got to do all those things right.
Even just randomly, cycling is a lifelong activity, and so you get them hooked when they're young and get them thriving, and they can do that the rest of their life, which is pretty cool. We lost about a pound a week. That was one of the things we had to in the first, like, 2, 3 weeks, we're, like, dialing in the calories. And so what was some of the process that you experienced through, like, getting our base calories were 2,500 is kind of where we ended up settling. But what was the experience, the amount of food you're eating to just even hit to that base calorie, and then some of those like long Saturday or Sunday multiple hour rides? We can talk about that in a moment about how we strategize some like on the bike calories and eating 4,000 plus and stuff. But how did we settle in, and how'd that do for you?
Well, I would just say first of all, like, I mean, you nailed it. I mean, we went through at the beginning. We went through like what I was doing on the daily, like how many hours am I riding per week, per day? What was my caloric intake at the time? And, you know, I think you came in right at like 2,500 calories.
Gut check.
Yep. And so we actually never really adjusted off of that based off of what I was doing.
The
Uh,
feedback said that we didn't need to.
yeah, exactly. Still had the same amount of power, if not more, at the very beginning, right? We're talking about the beginning.
Mhm.
Um, and it was good. Eating that much, I was never really tracking it, but like eating that much food, sometimes was a little bit hard. You
Mhm.
have to eat, especially as we'll talk about in a moment here, like loading for the long weekend rides and, getting up 4,000 calories in a day. I mean, that's a lot of food, but it was good. It was easy. You coached me on like food prep and all of that, which I'm still doing today. I just cooked, on Saturday, um, another 8 pounds of pork in the crock pot, that you
Yeah.
know, so, it was good. Overall, it was a great, experience, and, again, like, kudos to you, like, there was no ramp up time of, like, "Oh, okay, like, we're gonna try this out and dial it in," like, maybe in some instances you have to do that, but, with your knowledge, like, I would say, like, you know, as you nailed it, and
Yeah.
you did great.
That's, 20 years of experience and thousands of conversations, just kinda, through yeah, Eric's right. Ask him what his training's like, what his sleep's like, what he's doing in his off times, like, how much movements he's doing a day. Is he doing any strength training? How much interaction is he doing with his family? Like, all these things and beyond are just pieces of the puzzle that we have to put in place to then be able to start and generally have a pretty good methodology of how I start people out no matter what. And then yeah, there's feedback. This is a coaching client relationship. Eric was always sharing his updates, his workouts, which we'll talk about because it's like every single time you got on the bike, it was like, hey, I got a personal record, or I went faster in this just section of the race or ride or whatever and stuff. So yeah, we definitely nailed it. And then we just went up from there. The demands and we kind of settled it into a good flow. And that's really important too, that you don't have to like ride or die by tracking your food or anything that, but or even like have all the I burned this many calories per what my watch said and this, that, and have to do all this mathematical. We were able to break it down. Hey, we're gonna bike this much. This is about how many calories we need to eat. And we kind of worked through that in a couple weeks and it worked beautifully because every time we talked on Monday, you were always down like another pound. And that's what the appropriate amount of fat loss was for you to burn belly fat, not sacrifice performance or muscle, especially being a cyclist. There's a heavy amount of potential catabolic activity that's going on. So if you undereat, you could be burning muscle and then thereby shooting yourself in the foot per se when it comes to actually performance and output and because the muscle is just not there or it's not recovering or for the love you get an injury, right? You really didn't have to deal with a lot of aches, pains, injuries for the hours and hours that you had put in on the bike. So
Right. And
Fantastic.
and and on that, like, I don't know if you remember, I wasn't really eating very well on the bike.
Oh,
And
yeah,
then
yeah, you took it
early on, my
yeah,
stomach wasn't good with a lot of snacks that I was eating.
right,
Um, we were able to, overcome that. But,
right,
and then helping too, like, I had all the rides, so we knew the data. Like, we knew how many hours a week I was doing. And although the apps are really good at tracking your heart rate and all these things and tell you how many calories you burn, it's and correct me if I'm wrong, coach, but like it's kind of somewhat negligent because it doesn't matter what the app is telling you because you just kind of come down to your basics of your formula. Like this is how much we're doing, this is how much we're moving, this is how much you need to eat.
right, right. There is always some intuition that has to be brought into this so that you can just like now, months later, you can just, hey, I am or am not. Like you're in Salt Lake, so hey, the trails are like looking good, and I'm gonna go out for a 3 hour ride. Oh, nope, snow just dropped, and I have to abort, abandon ship, and then you can really quickly adjust however you need to, which is very important. So you're not hung up or like, "Oh, I don't know what to do."
Yep.
So we got up to what? I know we did at least 5 plus hours on some of those longer rides. So we were eating, and we have to adjust. If you're an endurance athlete and you're going over, say, 2 hours of high performance effort, you have to eat during that. It's just you're gonna run out of muscle glycogen, you're gonna run out of calories, your muscles are gonna be screaming to you, and that's where that bonk, that hit the wall type feeling or redlining starts to come into play, and you just depreciate the longer you go and stuff.
Yep.
You had some training, some of the screenshot I was you're always lighting my phone up with just these really positive, power outputs and these you had in Strava, you had each of the segments of some of your rides broken down, and you're like, "Hey, this is" so what were some of those positive changes that we saw there, and then even maybe FTP, how that's changed?
Yeah, I would say the beginning, like was it July, August, we were kind of settling in, and then like September hit, we were definitely deep into the mountain like races for the kids. But I had to kind of modify my schedule to do more intervals inside just because of time. But what I started to notice like was, I was just blowing away like my PRs on some sections, like, climbs where you're like, you know, all of a sudden you're not even really trying that hard and you're beating your times by just a couple minutes. On the trainer, on the indoor stuff, on the intervals, all of a sudden your your power output for an hour was, the best you've had. And, it's like I don't really think I would have ever been able to do it, honestly, without like proper nutrition and just fueling I always tell my kids, like, your body's like an engine, you got to put good gas in it to get the most out of it. So properly fueling it and really, really help. But yeah, I mean, I'm even till today, like I think it was last week I sent you when I had, I'm starting to train for the next event, and it was second place PR, but I'm like at the beginning of my training and for this event was like not even really trying that hard, and I'm putting out more power than I had, or the same amount of power I did a month ago and not even really trying that hard.
Yeah, it's awesome. I think we also saw it when you were riding with your buddies.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, see you later, like, "Oh, you thought you wanted to ride with us," and then next thing you know, they were gone, which is great, I love that.
Just to leave them behind. Like, what are you doing? And they're like, "Oh, I'm just eating more food." And and
Yep,
so,
yep.
I love that. I love that. Those are some of my best. It's like, yeah, I just like kinda left my buddies. I have to wait for them at the top while they're
Yep.
just like dying trying to get up. So,
Yeah, and just the overall power too, man. I get, in the flat sections, and mountain bike's a little different than road, but when you're traversing across and you're flying, and you're just throwing it down, and you're able to eat and keep it coming in, and it's just the human body is really amazing when
treating
you
it
think about
properly.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can go and just keep going.
Yeah. And we had a wide variety of different things to eat too. It wasn't just like, "Oh, I'm gonna have my sports supplements and just drink all this stuff and goo myself to death." We had a lot of food options that were a lot of food strategies, a lot of yeah, I'm a big fan of like 2 day before refueling the muscle glycogen, carb loading type situation stuff. And it worked out wonderfully. Oh, let's talk about that 24-hour race. They obviously called it because it was freezing and what snow and just the conditions totally kind of fell apart on it. But that's something you can't plan for. But what did we plan for beforehand? Your spreadsheet, your gear, and how do you end up placing?
Yeah, they did call the race early due to weather. It was all the things we planned for, like who would have planned for 35 degrees and raining and snowing and wind,
Not
and
fun on
then
the mountain.
wasn't fun at all. But no, we planned. It was good. Everything is always a process for learning. But we had all the food, we had all the nutrition. We broke it, spent some time, broke it down into a spreadsheet of like how much water and salt tablets I had to take on, and how many calories. All that stuff went really well. Felt great, minus the weather and the suffering part of it. Lasted
Gonna
17 hours.
17 hours.
lasted 17 hours before they called the race, 100 and almost 180 miles, and finished 10th. The next youngest person in the top 10, me being the oldest, was 23.
Yeah, wow.
So
That's
that that felt awesome. The next oldest guy my age was 16th place, and he was a lap, 2 laps behind me. So it was great,
awesome.
awesome.
Yeah, I do recall your laps were, pretty darn consistent over almost, what, 90 minutes. You were just like clockwork.
Yeah, there was one where I was like, I think I told you I was feeling great, and I did not like I
You didn't
didn't
follow
eat.
the plan.
Other than that, they were all. It was amazing because they were all within just a few minutes of each other. Like you know,
We're talking about 90 minutes of, like, a lap, 90. He was, like, within, like, 3 minutes or less every
every
single
lap.
time, except for the
Yep,
one where you got a little carried away.
yep. Um, yeah, no, and that was amazing. I mean, like, if you think about that, like, you start out my first lap was fast, realized I had to kind of back off a little bit, and then every lap, I did 13 laps, 9 of those laps, 10 of those laps were all within a few minutes, and so, when you start thinking about nutrition and, obviously preparation, but properly fueling,
Yeah.
knowing where you need to be, your body can just throw down consistently every single time. Um, and after the as the sun started to come up and life began to blossom again as the new day came over, it's like starting to feel good. Unfortunately, they canceled it, but like, was ready. I was ready just to keep going.
One, yeah. And you're confident to be able to keep going too.
Oh yeah.
But all of the plan, the food, the strategies were all there. Your body was still feeling good at that point, even that far in. So,
Yeah. And this generally the plan, was that I would start to turn up the heat a little bit because
yep.
the race isn't won in the first or second lap.
Nope.
So the other times that I've done that, people really start to struggle at the end, and I was feeling way better than I did the first time doing the event.
Yeah.
However, they called it early. I was ready to just I had 5 hours left of racing or 6 hours left, and was like, okay, I got 5 laps in me. I can turn it up
Yeah. Yeah. That's which is
next
empowering,
time.
exciting. Yeah, next time. So we got a couple other races that we're planning for. We have other strategies that we're doing. He's also skiing, hence out in Salt Lake. So he's hitting the powder quite a bit. So we're kind of hodgepodge putting it all together so that he's getting fit and he'll be ready to roll when as soon as that snow melts as well. His power output FTP is going to go up quite a bit here
Yeah.
in a little bit too as we just get going. Yeah, what made this approach different? Like, why do you think it worked?
Well, I've never really done it, so I can't honestly tell you why this one in particular worked. I would say, my answer to people when I talk about it is it's common sense. Like you bring a very common sense approach to it. Your experience shows, right from the beginning when we nailed the caloric intake and what I needed to do, and we didn't really dive into it, but the preloading of when I was going to do a big ride on a Saturday, we're eating 3,500 calories on Thursday and 4,000 calories on Friday. And then I'd go out and burn it all on Saturday. Like all of that stuff, like the approach just works. It's simple, it's straightforward. Your diet plans, your meal prep, all of those components, looking at the nutrition, like it's all, it's common sense. It makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. I always joke with people if I hit you upside the head with too much logic, let me know because food. When it all comes down, we got three things: movement that we're paying attention to, food choices, and then lastly, portion control. And in your situation, we had a lot of movement. We needed to make sure that we are having more premium fuels, and that didn't mean that we weren't having simple carbohydrates specifically when they needed to be. just had higher quality food, and then our portions. The great thing about you is you were very adapted. You could go on 2,500 calorie days, 3,500 to 5,000 if you needed to, and still be able to execute, which made it easy for me. So thank you. Yeah, last
Well,
Eric.
what one thing there I want to add to, and this is probably for the people that were doing what I was doing. What was I doing before I met you? Before I reached out, I was thinking that if I just rode my bike and I ate normally, that I would lose the weight and it would go off. And that is not the case. If you fuel your body properly, your body will just start to shred those pounds, 2 pounds a week consistently. And it's pretty amazing. Like, your body really needs the proper fuel consistently to not only perform the way you want to perform too, but to get to the physique that you want. So fueling is not just for power and all that stuff. Like, to get in shape, got to eat.
You'll burn out or you get hurt,
Yep.
especially with the amount of activity you're doing. Marathon runners, triathletes that want to do more than a sprint try, you have to fuel properly. You just have to do it. If someone was hanging out watching this and they were thinking that exact thing, what would you tell them to do? What advice would you give them to get them moving in the right direction?
I work in sales and I do a lot of stuff, and a lot of the people in general have a lot of commitment issues. And it's weird, people are really afraid sometimes to commit to themselves, whether
Right.
you're talking about buying something or maybe starting their own business or doing something else, or making a career change. They doubt themselves. And the same thing is with you and nutrition. Like, don't doubt yourself, commit. That's what I would say. Like, call Brian, get Brian on the phone, give Brian at least 6 or 8 weeks, whatever your minimum is, to try it. Like,
Yeah.
it'll be the best thing you do. Like, um, I still eat the same way. I'm not tracking as much, but I know, like, the portions, my fist, my hand, how much I should be eating. I have my measuring cups, my 2 cups of Cheerios, my 1 cup of blueberries every morning. So my message to you is, like, commit to yourself. Like, if it's something you really want, just do it.
Yeah.
Believe in yourself, 'cause it'll happen.
Yep. I've committed to this for 20 years. Back in 2004, I got a degree, but started teaching group exercise classes in 2002. So the only thing I've done in my whole career is help people improve their health, their fitness, their nutrition, their physique, whatever, their endurance. So had a lot of conversations, and the knowledge, the experience just comes. So
Yeah,
Eric, you're awesome. I really look forward to what happens and comes this future. We're going to be thriving, FTP going through the roof, performance. The next time you ride with your buddies out on the trail, they're like, "Hey, let me go ride an hour and then let's meet up to do our group ride together because you guys are too slow for me now."
that's right. Totally.
So I
Yep.
appreciate you, and we'll catch you next week in our call,
Okay.
and just keep chipping away, and you keep sharing those increased power outputs and like gold, silvers, and bronzes that they're giving you in Strava and stuff. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Thank you very much. You have a great rest of your night.
Yep. So if you watch this and you're inspired by Eric or things that we talked about, you reach out. We can have a conversation, just start something, see if I can help you, and we can work together. And like teamwork makes the dream work, just like we had with Eric. He came on, and that first call, it's like, yeah, let's do this, and then off we went, and here we are. We're both really proud of his effort and his activities, and it's been a really fun, enjoyable process. So thanks so much for watching. Thanks, Eric. I really appreciate you. Keep crushing it, and off we go.
Okay. Thanks, Brian. Have a good night.
Thank you. I hope that you enjoyed our conversation with Eric as he performed at some of his best in years. He's down, he's a lean machine, a lean cycling machine. And that's exactly what he wanted. He came with the goal of racing that 24-hour mountain bike race, cutting fat, and we did just that. And he was blown away by the amount of calories that he was able to eat. That's just science to me. That's the process of the art of the coach, in a sense, of how I go about understanding someone's situation and translating it into real, actionable impact that goes into his day to day life. And we didn't disrupt it. He didn't just start eating weird things. I mean, there's so many times he'd jump on a phone call with me and he was eating cereal. And that's the power of coaching. That's the power of application and consistency. Now, if you're looking for some help and you have fat loss goals, performance goals, that's exactly what I do in the Call to Rise. It's my 100-day fat loss challenge and more. I've helped people deal with chronic illness, as you've heard through some of the testimonial episodes, through losing fat, through gaining strength and confidence in a lot of different areas. So we've got the 5 pillars of the call, which is your identity. Reignite that internal idea of who you are as a man and how you need to step up to that, not just be passive in your 40s and 50s. Second one is the forge. This is the exercise piece, the movement piece, the building your body back up. Third is the fuel. This is the nutrition piece where we apply science-backed information into your everyday life to make it as easy as possible. 4 is the code. This is your mindset, the way you start thinking and seeing things with a different lens that works for you. And number 5 is the brotherhood, doing it with like-minded men that are driven to be successful and excel in their everyday life. And that's what I'm bringing together is like-minded guys that want to shape up and improve their overall health and the impact that it has not only on their personal health, their family, and their business, their career. So if you're interested in transforming your body and doing it with me, thecalltorise.com. Check it out, fill out the form, and let's have a conversation to see if it's the right fit for you. Off we go to episode 76. Excited to have you guys along for the ride. Thanks so much.